Kevin, I ask this question to everyone that I interview. What follow-up from doctors or cancer researchers have you had?
Well, virtually none. I mean, our local hospital would have us take him up there every 6 months, you know. But all they do is they weigh him, measure him, you know, palpate his lymph nodes and his spleen. But we do that at home anyway. My wife was a nurse before we started our family. So, you know, regularly 2, 3, 4 times a week, my wife gives him a full physical examination. So we've got a real serious problem in the UK at the moment with hospital-acquired infections. So I'm not taking him there. I'm not going near the hospital. But other than that, I mean, the hospital, I've got a full copy of his medical records, and it says things like an exceptional response to chemotherapy. It also says things like much less mucositis than is typical. You know, he had no mucositis at all. There's a very good homeopathic remedy called Traumil that, in my experience, virtually stops mucositis dead in its tracks. I mean, it's clinically proven in Israel and other countries, just not in the UK. So, you know, our health service take full credit for it, which I've got no problem with that. I just find it very frustrating that this whole food issue is so wildly overlooked. I mean, in the UK, the Home Office get more money to feed a prisoner a day than the health service get to feed a patient. And you could go in there as a cancer patient and eat bangers and mash 3 times a day if that's what you want. And it's just, to me, it's just insane. You know, you don't have to be Albert Einstein to realise that if you have a Burger King for breakfast, a KFC for lunch, McDonald's for dinner, plenty of Diet Coke, lots of Pringles, you know, you are not going to do as well as someone who eats a diet that's based around home-cooked, home-prepared, fresh food, you know, locally sourced organic ingredients. You know, you don't have to be, you know, it's not rocket science to work out which patient is going to do best, but our health service, our doctors just don't seem to realise that for whatever reason.
Kevin, I'd just like to set the record straight in that there are no financial ties between us.
None whatsoever.
I'd also like to say that this interview is not a substitute for medical advice.
No, not at all. I would implore parents of children with cancer, make a decision based on all the facts. Okay, don't, you know, we don't advocate not to have allopathic treatment. We don't advocate not to have chemo. We believe that our strategy can make chemo 2 or 3 times more effective and a half or a third as toxic. And that's the route that we go down. We don't advocate any parent to take their children out of the mainstream medical system. I mean, you would have to be brave, bordering on insanity to do it. That if an adult wants to make a decision like that for themselves, that's an adult's decision. But my view is you just can't do that with your kid, you know. But why just rely on one kind of medicine? It seems to me that, you know, there are so many different approaches out there that are available. I mean, when I was researching and looking into all of this and trying to work out the way forward for me and my family, I was scared that I wasn't going to get it right, but I was a hell of a lot more scared that I was going to get it wrong and make it worse. But we just talk about food. We talk about food, nutritional supplementation, detoxification. That's what we preach.
Kevin, what advice did you get from doctors regarding food?
I was told to let him eat whatever he likes to prevent the inevitable weight loss. That's what I was told. Let him eat whatever he likes, anything at all. There are NHS, you know, the National Health Service, which is our standard, you know, well, it's not free, obviously we pay for it for our taxes, but it's our health service here in the UK. I've seen NHS nurses go out on NHS time with NHS money and buy Burger King for kids that are having chemo. And I've seen them, kids on a cancer ward connected to a chemo pump, having Burger King pushed on them. Now, I've got nothing against Burger King anymore, and I've got anything against McDonald's or KFC or any of this other fast food. Clearly, though, you know, you're not going to get better eating that stuff. You know, anybody who's seen the film Super Size Me, you know, It's bonkers. The refined sugar thing, you know, fill them full of calories, empty calories. That's the advice, and it's just crazy. I mean, I fed my son whole foods. I focused on fruits and vegetables. That was what I focused on, you know, and he never lost any weight. So this advice about ramming them full of dairy, double cream with everything, you know, it's just insane. It's just absolutely insane. We have a thing here called a pot noodle. You know, it's rammed with MSG. It's a dried noodle type thing in a pot. I've seen kids eating those at 7:30 in the morning that the hospital have given them. Now, you know, to me, it's just crazy. So, yeah, the dietary advice I had was appalling. There's actually a booklet that they dish out here, and it's got a picture of licorice all sorts on the outside. It's got a picture of burgers in it. You know, there's meals there, or there's pictures of meals on plates, not a piece of green in sight. You know, chicken nuggets, chips, ketchup, you know, all the foods that are thought to feed cancer. And it just seems as plain as day that if you're suffering with cancer, surely you should focus on eating the foods that are thought to hinder it, not the foods that are thought to feed it. It's just, to me, it's just insane. But everybody, you know, to have a cancer diagnosis for your young child and to be told that they're likely to die affects lots of different people in different ways. And, you know, many parents, you know, abdicate their parental responsibility, in my opinion, and they put their child's life in the hands of a total stranger. And to me, I just couldn't do that. I wasn't prepared to do that, or was not prepared to leave something of such huge magnitude to somebody else. I mean, I set out to become a co-doctor, if you like, almost like a co-pilot. You know, as far as preventing infection is concerned, I mean, we were fanatical. You know, the first time they came in to set the chemo pump, I had them explain to me, what are you doing? How are you setting that pump? What is the rate? You know, is it being done correctly? Even down to things like accessing Hickman lines, you know, central venous catheters, which is what they put in these kids. The correct husbandry of that line when it's accessed and such, like, you know, maintaining a sterile field. That is the difference between life and death for some of these kids. And please don't get me wrong, I have met some very dedicated and committed individuals within our health service. There is no doubt of that. But as with any large organisation, mistakes happen. And to me, as a parent, I wasn't prepared to risk any errors. And the only way, in my opinion, that you can be sure that there aren't any errors is to take responsibility yourself.